Uh, People kind of assume that there's nothing more to discover, and I respectfully disagree with that. I think there absolutely is more to discover, and what we're seeing, interestingly, you know, with the sort of mega trends in the world, things like energy transition, water shortages, needing to sort of provide clean water for a growing number of the populace. Because it's
Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industries. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli K. Matthews, and I am excited about today. I have one of the legends with me today that I have really wanted to have on the mic for a while. And so I'm just going to get to know him with you today. I've known him through writing and seeing at shows and different things, but we're going to dive deep a little bit today. So jump on here, Simon, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. So my name is Simon Bradshaw. I'm currently the global engineering director for engineering technology for Trillium Flow Technologies. So that's
Yeah,
a
and
very
been
convoluted title.
yeah. Well, I was going to say, just been in that engineering and technology space for some time, but how did you get into the industry?
How did I get into the industry? Purely by chance. So, I mean, essentially, I was poor and I wanted to go to university. And so I went around a bunch of companies in Scotland at the time. And I had the worst sales pitch in the world, which was, please give me money so I can go to university. And quite unsurprisingly, most of them said, you know, go away, don't talk to us. And so I was kind of starting to lose hope a little bit, but for some reason, myself and another guy who I didn't know up until that point, both managed to convince what was Weir Pumps at that time, the HR guy, to start a program, and essentially it was come and do an apprenticeship with us, a truncated apprenticeship, and we'll give you some money for that, and then we'll give you some money to go to university, and you get a job during the summer. So it's like, yeah, cool, okay, I'll do that. I'm not so
Why?
poor anymore. I can at least afford to eat. And occasionally have replace my worn out socks or something like that. So it was a good deal. So I started doing that, and I had no idea what Weir Pumps did. It was just a company. It was like, are they going to talk to me? And it was only when I got into it, and it's like, yeah, this is kind of interesting. They do all these things, and there's so many applications, and I mean, just moving fluids from one improbable place to another. It's just like there's just an infinite number of things that can go strangely wrong with it, or challenges you got to have, and so although it was complete accident getting here, I was like, yeah, I'll stick around. That was pretty much how it worked.
So
So.
tell me about university. What did you pick when you went to university there?
Oh, it's just mechanical engineering. I mean, it's nothing particularly, outstanding or universal in that. And it was simply a basic choice. I was either, I sat and thought about a career, and it was like, okay, if I could be a doctor or a lawyer, but if I'm a lawyer, statistically, I'm going to lose 50% of my cases. And if I'm a doctor, all of my endeavors end up in failure because eventually we all die, and therefore it's like I'm going to be an engineer. And my father was an electronic engineer, so it came down to like, do I want to like play with electrons, or do I want to see things moving? And I decided I wanted to see things moving, so then it kind of made it easy. It was like, yeah, I'll
So,
do.
and very important, and their pumps and valves, etc., are vital to life. And I know we share that
Yeah,
passion. Is once you
yeah.
get into the pump industry and you see it, you just know how important it is, and you understand that in the people working on it. But one thing that got me today, as I was reviewing this, is, I think about how much could pumps really change? How can we innovate? And you had written that we still should be looking at it. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, I know that's part of your job there, but that innovation side with the existing pumps, I'm just really,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of assume because it's a relatively, technology's been around a long time, what longest than computers and other stuff. I mean, back since the days of Archimedes, of course, he came up with one of the first pumps. Uh, People kind of assume that there's nothing more to discover, and I respectfully disagree with that. I think there absolutely is more to discover, and what we're seeing, interestingly, you know, with the sort of mega trends in the world, things like energy transition, water shortages, needing to sort of provide clean water for a growing number of the populace. Because essentially, if you want to do economic development, you've got to have two things. You've got to have power and you've got to have water. If you don't have water and sanitation and you don't have power, there are no rich countries that don't have those two things. So if you want to lift people out of poverty, you want to do economic development, you've absolutely got to have these things. So, with those challenges, we're seeing a lot of opportunities to kind of innovate and provide solutions for that, and and even with the advent of technologies like AI, we're looking at that very closely. Is like how does that allow us to innovate in the pump space and design things differently and come up with stuff. So there's plenty of things going on that interest me, and where you see innovation is where you get the confluence of a couple of different things, different specialties, different technologies, and they come together, and you produce something that's more than the sum of the parts. And so that's the areas that kind of interest me, and you've got to approach it with the right mindset. I mean, if you've concluded that there's nothing more possible, then that's not going to get you very far, right? So,
well, and
um,
that's what you're working there at Trillium. You are looking kind of internally there to make sure that y'all are kind of, I guess, for a better lack of words, just the system, all
yeah.
the different parts there, that the system is working and they can come to you. Um, so that work that you're doing there, is there anything else that you want to kind of mention that you are working on there at Trillium?
Uh, I mean, it becomes difficult when we're talking about specific pieces of R&D because the CEO will yell at me if I talk about them. He's like, don't talk about that because it's our special thing. But I mean, look, I mentioned energy transition. We're absolutely doing a bunch of R&D with that. Internet of Things, we're absolutely doing a bunch of R&D with that. AI, we're doing stuff with that. I can certainly say that with certainty. So those are all areas that we are working on new products, services, technology that kind of utilize these changes that we see in the world around us, as well as the mega trends that I talked about.
Yes,
I
he's
mean,
not going to tell us, y'all. You have to go and talk to
yeah,
him
yeah,
at
yeah,
TPS.
yeah, yeah,
There,
yeah,
that's coming up soon. We'll be at TPS there,
yeah.
George R. Brown. So y'all go find Simon and his team and ask him what they're really working on there.
Yeah, if you buy me coffee, you might get more out of me. I guess it's always possible. Certainly a slave to caffeine, so I think that'll be one hint. You see, maybe somebody will buy me a free coffee. Yeah, probably
You
not
got
many,
it.
but
You got it. I know where to get those. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, as we go through this and we are working on pumps and equipment and kind of innovative and just times to think, right? How do you keep yourself kind of passionate and motivated in our industry?
I, I mean, a few things. You're always, if you put yourself in the mindset, you're always learning, right? The the pleasure of working in this industry and just in general is like you get exposed to a huge number of really smart people, really experienced people. I mean, for example, I'm on the API 610 task force. That's the task force that helps write the next generation of the API 610 pump standard, the one that it's a bible for a lot of people. And it's fascinating on these calls. You have, I know, probably 40 or 50 people on them sometimes. And the breadth of knowledge, it's kind of disconcerting. You realize very quickly how little you actually know. And I've been doing this for like 30, almost 40 years now, and it's like, yeah, I still realize I'm a beginner at this.
Yeah, and that's what people think about you, Simon, when they're in the room with you.
Yeah,
We've been watching you and learning from you for so long that I'm
yeah.
sure you have that effect on others as well.
Yeah, so I mean that's absolutely something that kind of gets me up in the morning is you're going to learn from these people. You're when you do R&D, you're going to break stuff. The key thing is to learn from breaking it, not just continually break it. But that's why they call I tell a lot of people that's why I call R&D wreck and destroy.
I love that.
It's a reason, and it's interesting because it's really is an important mindset because a lot of people, when they do a pump test or a valve test, they want to see the things be intact at the end of the test, and everything goes to plan and it does what we expect it to do. But in R&D, you don't want that to happen. You want to actually find where it fails and go beyond that, because it's only by going beyond that that you actually learn what's the limit. Why did it break? Why did it do this? Why did it behave in this way? And then you can go back and say, okay, if I change this, now I can get better performance, or I can do this, I can make it lighter, I make it faster, whatever. So all of that stuff, that ability to kind of learn to innovate, I think, is something that absolutely, still motivates me, tremendously. If it didn't, I wouldn't have a 3D printer sitting sitting at my feet here, warming me gently, and you
Yeah,
know,
and calling him back, y'all. He's turned it off just for us today. And this
yeah,
is like, okay, I'm
I
ready.
did. I've been busy printing really, really strange looking objects in plastic, but that's cool. And I mean the other piece about it, frankly, is and this was the one that surprised me the most, is because just to be clear, I'm like an uber introvert, so my ideal job is I can just sit in a room for a week contemplating my navel. That would be perfect. I just wouldn't need to talk to anybody. Maybe they would bring me food so I didn't die, or something like that. But that would be my perfect job. I never ended up on that career path. I ended up in engineering leadership for whatever bizarre reason. And one of the things that totally surprised me was that the helping people kind of get on their career path and develop themselves, and in many cases I'm certain go on and do surpass way beyond what I did in my career. It's tremendously rewarding, to have done that. And I mean, I can think of quite a few quite a few names, and it's like, yeah. It's just something it didn't even occur to me at the beginning of my career. As an introvert, you're not the most socially adept of people, if that's a thing. At least my wife tells me that constantly, how socially inadept I am.
That's because we're
And
trying to pull you out because we see that you're just pure genius. Like, get out so everybody
yeah,
knows who you
yeah.
are. Yes.
I like the classic engineer just wants to look at their shoes all the time. So it was a kind of like a revelation for me that this making a difference in other people's lives was really rewarding. And if you take them at face value, I did make a difference. I mean, maybe they were just being nice to me. I don't know.
No, we
But
definitely know it, and I'm with you. Developing others is the most
yeah.
rewarding part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the empowering pumps and industry that you run. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. That's kind of like job one is making people better informed, helping them develop and grow and understand things, and so I can understand why it kind of motivates you so much.
Yeah, I always say we give people the power and authority to do something, but really it's just letting them know that they already have it within themselves, right? And so
Yeah,
it is very rewarding.
yeah.
Okay, well, I can't let you go without a little rapid fire. What is your favorite book?
Oh Lordy, that's a probably the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I
Okay.
love that. I love that book. I love all of those kinds of writers. I mean, Terry Pratchett would be another one where it's very kind of like it's kind of very kind of understated humor, just kind of slightly surreal humor. But
Mhm.
Douglas Adams was yeah, he was out there, and I remember listening to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as a BBC radio program many years ago when I was growing up, and it was just it's like so surreal, this whole thing, that you just had to love it. But
Well, I'm always curious about you. Like, do you still write yourself? Like, you still love to write? And how did you kind of get into writing?
oh, you mean on like LinkedIn and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, oh,
Is there other writing I don't know about?
oh
Because
no, there is other writing. I am definitely not going to reveal that. Maybe one day when I retire, I'll publish my book, which is yeah,
something
that
to look forward, y'all.
something to look forward to. Yeah. Um, no, it was more. It was like LinkedIn was kind of new when I started, and it was just like, okay, what can I do here? Can I like write stuff and people might be interested in it, and so it was really just purely an experiment, nothing more. And I had no, I honestly had no kind of preconceived ideas of how it would kind of turn out, whether people would like what I'd written. I mean, it's still, at the end of the day, what I'm writing about is really geeky stuff. So it's it's not going to appeal to most people, but a few people like it. So I guess
Yes, we
that's
will never get 300,000 views on
yeah.
our pump, quote of the day or anything like it's so disappointing, but also we know that our industry is looking. Let me just tell you, I wouldn't have a business if I thought about that at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
People would
yeah.
come up to me later and say, "Oh, I saw that." And I was like, "Well, why didn't you like it or comment or anything?" No. That must be the introvert there, Simon.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
yeah.
what is your favorite music?
Oh goodness, I like a huge range of music. It really depends what I'm doing, to be honest. If I'm working, much to the distress of many of my coworkers, I like trance music. So I like Armin van Buuren, Gareth Emery, Ashley Wallbridge, all of those I love to bits, and I could listen to them all day because the music, it's kind of it allows you to kind of channel your creativity. I can just sit there in the zone. I can do stuff. So I love that, but equally, I adore going to like a classical concert. Um, I can think of many instances where I've even convinced my coworker who wasn't a kind of classical music fan, and we were in Prague at the time, and I managed to persuade him to go to a live concert, and they were playing Dvorak's New World Symphony, which is a fantastic piece of music. And he kind of admitted to me afterwards. He said, "Yeah, that was just astonishing. It's like so emotional when you get that live music there." And then everything in between. I mean, heck, I love Judas Priest. I like Iron Maiden and pretty much everything in between. So depends on the mood.
Yeah, yeah. And I love live concert too, especially the symphony. The
Yeah.
opera, I'm partial to the opera because I went
The,
to
the opera the
Australia.
opera is great, although they do take a very long time to
Right.
say anything. It's like 25 minutes about how my boyfriend came back, you know. But yeah, I like the opera too. It's great.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice. Oh, that's a yeah. I get lots of pieces of advice which I generally probably ignore the really good ones. You know, probably the best advice I received was from my well, girlfriend then and wife now. Her father, who was I think something like he just turned 100, believe it or not, when he talked to me. And he was in this living on his own in his assisted living, and he says to me, yeah, you should marry her.
That is some
I
good
thought I thought
advice.
that was pretty good advice. He was quite a character, and I really I loved him a bit. He tested me the first time that my wife brought me round to see him. So he was originally a tailor. He used to make clothes, and he had a sewing machine in his apartment, and it wasn't working. So he says, "Can you fix it?" So I know how to sew. I know how to do stuff. I can kind of fix it. So I put it back together, and he kind of turns to her and he says, "Yeah, he's the one."
Yeah, yeah. He can fix
So that
anything.
was the criteria. If I could fix his sewing machine, I was okay. I was like, I
I
was
love it.
good.
Okay, so what type of advice would you give a young engineer coming into the pump industry?
Um, I know. Stay curious. I mean, it's as simple as that. You're going to be overwhelmed by just there being so much stuff. So you got to kind of remain open to it. Remain open to the fact that you're going to do stuff wrong. And trust me, I've probably done all of the same things wrong that you're going to do wrong. With extra scars. So just enjoy the experience. There's so much to learn. There's so many smart, people and interesting projects out there. You know, and it will continue that way. The world's continuing to change. But as I said earlier, the two things we need are power and water, and pumps are going to continue to be pumps and valves are going to continue to be a central part of both of those. So that's the advice. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and get into the pump industry. If you're listening to this for the first time, it's
Yeah,
a great opportunity, whether you stumble in it, which a lot
yeah,
of people do. This may be your stumble right now listening to this.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Simon, I'll give you the last word and let everybody know how to get in touch with you as well.
Yeah, you can always hit me up on LinkedIn. I do try to respond when people message me, as long as you're not trying to sell something. So please don't message me to sell something because I'm poor. I can't afford to. The wife's taking all my money.
Not
I can't
buying,
afford to.
y'all. He's not buying.
Yeah, I can't buy anything. And so, please, hit me up on LinkedIn if I've got a bunch of articles there that you can read about pumps and stuff. I'm always interested in any ideas for additional articles. It's hard to come up with inspiration. I think I'm up to, I don't know, like 60 plus articles or something now. It's just I've lost track. So yeah, if there's something you feel I should write about, please don't be shy about it. I'm happy to kind of take it on advisement. Doesn't guarantee I'll do it, but because I don't get as much time as I would like. But I really appreciate any feedback and advice people can give. Like I said, I'm always learning. So
Well, I love it, and I loved our time together, Simon. I look forward to seeing you at the TPS Texas Pump and Turbo Show coming up. And
yes, yes, we
uh,
I will be there, and Trillium Flow Technologies will be there. We're doing a lecture and a case study actually, and I'll be around there. I'll also be in the discussion group on monitoring and vibration and monitoring. I think it's discussion group one, might be one. I probably got that number wrong, so I apologize in advance. But I'll be in that, so I'll look forward to seeing you there.
so message him on LinkedIn, set up a time to meet Simon. And if you're not there, still message him. Share this episode. People need to know who Simon is and the resource that he has created there on LinkedIn. So share this. I'd love to hear from you. And if you meet cool people out in the industry, send them my way. I'd love
I
to get
will.
to know them.
I
Simon, thank
will.
you. It's a
Okay.
pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, everybody, be empowering.